Hey everybody, I guess it's been a few days since I did my last vlog. I felt I owed you something, some contact, or some content. I just got to work. I'm on a night shift. I got 5 more nights after this, but it's going to be a pretty slow week probably because of the break in between Christmas and New Year's and whatever. But yeah, I just driving to work and listening to some podcasts about listening to Media Indigena, which is it's an older episode, a couple of weeks old. They're having a conversation about indigenous art and how it's being used in various places without permission from the artist, which is I think an interesting conversation. I think it speaks directly to conversations about cultural appropriation and stuff like that. I know that a lot of people still don't really buy cultural appropriation, but I think that when you have an artist who is doing something in the tradition of their culture, and then you have corporations taking that art or those styles of art and slapping them onto blankets and slapping them onto jackets and just, mass producing this shit. I think right there, I think that's an obvious case of taking culture, profiting off of it without actually paying the appropriate homage to it or giving the appropriate attribution or what have you. It was a really interesting episode. I can add the link to that in the description box for this vlog, I guess. They talked a bit about things like intellectual property, which is not my favorite subject. I'm not a fan of the concept of intellectual property. I think that copyright is, in a lot of ways it's kind of bullshit. In a lot of ways it's like the capitalist version of hey, I made a thing so you can't use it, which is ridiculous to me. If I make a thing, use it. I'm not a terribly talented person, so maybe that speaks to that. I also do feel that people should be compensated for the things they create, though. I don't think that it's fair for an artist to make a song and have 1 million people steal it or use it without permission and them never getting any compensation for that. There's got to be a way to work within these things so that people can use it without punishment, but also so that the artist can get compensated. But obviously these things are complicated. Nothing I'm probably going to get into in the 10 minutes before I go into the office. I was thinking a few days ago about various symbols. Because in Canada right now, the yellow vest movement has been kind of co-opted by the far right. It's more represented by these racists, anti-immigrant people, people who think that we should hang Trudeau or vote him out of office, even though the alternative is much, much worse. People who are stupid, essentially. And I don't know the details of where that is in France and whatnot. If I know it was originally a right-wing movement and it was adopted by the leftists by and large, and I think that there's nuance to the conversation that they're having about carbon taxes on diesel, which is what working people are using to get to and from work or what have you. And I think there is nuance to the discussion of saying, hey, maybe carbon tax shouldn't be the responsibility of the working class or the poor. Maybe it should be targeted at big companies. Maybe these companies that are pumping out pollution should be the ones paying the fucking price. And I mean, obviously, I'm much more in favor with that than I am in favor of charging working people. But at the same time, I'm willing to pay my share. I will pay extra if I have to. I feel like people who aren't as privileged as me should maybe get a pass. But if the government needs to take some money out of my pocket to help deal with climate change, then I'm in a position where I can do that. And I'm fully willing to I'm on record as being pro carbon tax, actually. Like if one were to go back in past episodes of Brainstorm, I've spoken on the carbon tax before, and I mean, I'm fully on board with being taxed for the gas that I use. It's not unreasonable in my perspective, and I think it does. I mean, the evidence is maybe not as strong as I once thought it was as to whether or not this will actually mitigate climate change or slow people down from using their what do you call it? They're using fuel or burning fossil fuels. But we do need to do something. And because of the way our system is set up, nobody wants to fucking target the companies that are actually doing the polluting. So, I mean, I started off talking about symbols, though. Lost my train of thought. So then, you think the yellow vests mean something different here than they do in France, right? So then I'm thinking about, well, what are some of the symbols that people are wearing? Like now in Canada, you can tell a fascist because the fascists are the fucking ones wearing yellow vests and marching down the street or protesting with fucking signs that are anti-immigrant. Those are the fucking fascists. So how do people know that you're not a fascist? Well, it's the symbols you wear. Like when I bought my anarchy toque last year, I bought it as a toque. I mean, I've identified as an anarchist for a long time, and I fucking got it from Hot Topic, and I'm a sucker for branding when it comes to anarchist symbols, which is, I mean, an issue. but I've been thinking deeply about what this says to people, and I think more and more I want to wear more symbols that show people that I'm anti-fascist, that I am pro-left, that I am not okay with racism. I want to show people that in a variety of ways. I mean, I have an Indigenous Lives Matter t-shirt, but when it's winter in Canada, what the fuck? Like, I've been thinking about getting like an anti-Nazi button. I read an article a couple years ago where a person was talking about their button, which is a Nazi symbol, crossed out, and people get pissed off. And it's like, yeah, so now I'm sending the message that I'm anti-Nazi. And in a time when you actually have to send that message to people. You can't just sit on the sidelines and be like, oh, well, you know, I don't want to offend anybody. Like, fuck Nazis. Fuck them. I'm okay offending those guys. So I've been thinking about symbols and what I want to wear, what I want people to get out of my presence, I suppose. Like, if a person of color sees me wearing an Indigenous Lives Matter t-shirt, if an Indigenous person sees that, then they might still not feel comfortable with me because I'm a privileged white dude, and I mean, that's a totally fair response, but it might send a message that I will support them if they need, I support them. I will do what I can to help them deal with racist bullshit, and I will do my part to help fight for their life. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what people take away from symbols. I just know what I want to present by them. But that's kind of what I've been thinking about. Suppose I better get into the office here, though. Better go to work. I've been thinking about a lot of things lately. I had a good holiday season. Like, I mean, I guess it's only the 27th or whatever, but Christmas was good. I hope everybody else had a good Christmas. I got to see my dad and my stepmom, and I hung out with my kids and my partner, and everybody was happy, and they got a bunch of presents because we're all very privileged people. And I just appreciate the things that I have and the people that I'm surrounded by in a lot of ways, despite not being a fan of Christmas, for a variety of reasons. But by and large, I get very depressed or moody, I guess you could say, leading up to Christmas. I don't know if it's the anticipation or if it's specifically because of events in the past or what have you, but I have moments leading up to Christmas where I'm less happy than I maybe am at other times. I'm generally a pretty upbeat guy. But yeah, Christmas can be rough. And it can be rough for a lot of people. I really feel like if you're a person who feels shitty during the holidays, it's not... You're allowed to feel shitty, and you're allowed to hide in your home and fucking do whatever you gotta do to not feel as shitty as people, like self-care or whatever they call it. Like myself, I felt like I just fucking laid down on the couch and watched movies for a day. I wished I didn't have much for beer in the house at the time, but it would have been nice to just have a solo drunk day. Some days that's nice. I don't do it very often, but I even mostly quit drinking entirely until, like, unless, certain occasions. I don't even drink at the podcast anymore. But, yeah. I don't know. Just some thoughts. I hope everybody had a good holiday. Yeah. Happy holidays and fuck fascists. Have a good one, everybody.